So yeah, I'm in my office. I just got into my office, and I just want to let you know the air conditioning is not working. Now, apparently it hasn't been working all weekend. It's going to be one of the hottest days of the year, and I have to work in this place. Can you fix it today? Today, yeah, today. The air conditioning, yeah, my office. Right. All right. Thanks. See ya. You know, sometimes things just crap out on you when you need them the most. You find that? Welcome to episode 7, by the way, of The 411, fueled by Gales Gas Bars Limited, powered by WeeStream, hosted by Fiddler's Poorhouse, content suppliers Nick of Niagara 411, and you, if at all possible. It's been a pretty busy week around Niagara. Masks, masks, masks is what this week pretty much has been all about. There are some other stories that have been around, other things have been going on, but it's basically masks, masks, masks. Niagara Falls really got hit hard by some bad PR with a video that has pretty much gone viral. We'll talk about that, show you some of that in case you missed it, and the follow-up from the mayor and other things. Niagara Regional Council got back involved. So we're going to get into masks, masks, masks right here on the 411. Hopefully you can stick around, and don't forget to join us. We'll tell you how you can do that. We're going into Fiddler's right now. Whew, that is one hot day. Okay. And that's one of the things that the masks thing is exacerbating too, because Kevin, you going to come and fix me up with this thing here? Yeah, okay. So, I don't know if you're in a position where you've had to wear masks for a particular length of time, but if you do, sometimes it's a little bit difficult. I'm standing on the wire there, I think, man. If you do, it can really heat you up. And it doesn't take very long. Thanks, mate. Okay, it doesn't take very long to heat you up as well, because then you get, oh, I can't breathe. Oh, there we go. There we go. Get rid of these. That's the thing that pretty much started fueling this masks thing in Niagara Falls. And I got this thing. Just bear with me a second while I get this unhooked. That's the other thing with the mask is you have to learn how to accessorize differently, you know. You know, I got the blue mask today with the blue shirt and everything else. There's just way too many decisions you have to make. Okay, so here's Clifton Hill. It was a week ago, Thursday-ish or whatever. It was a couple of days after we did last week's show, episode 6 of the 411. And just look at this. This looks like almost a normal evening in the summertime on Clifton Hill. When I say normal, I mean pre-COVID. It seems our entire life these days is pre-COVID and post-COVID. And I mean, look at them. Hardly, I'm more people without masks than with masks. They're all sitting and walking and standing almost shoulder to shoulder. And as a matter of fact, the story that popped out even before we saw this video was that an employee at the Speedway go-kart track down there on Clifton Hill had tested positive for the virus. And now we've got this video that has simply gone viral. I mean, it's been viewed thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and mostly by people who can't believe what they're seeing, especially in Niagara. Now, we also, remember, moved to phase 3 as of last Friday, and we were packed, I'm sure, because of that, by people from other areas that were perhaps still in phase 2, or just anybody getting what they call COVID fatigue. We would like to know what you think, what your position on this mandatory masks thing is, what your opinion is of what you're looking at right now, and all you have to do is click on the link at the bottom of the post. We are live streaming not only, by the way, today on Livestream Niagara, but for the very first week of the program, we are also live streaming on Niagara 411. Both of those venues are doing this live stream of the 411 today. So kudos to Nick for joining the fray here and going live with our program for the first time on this Monday, July 27th edition of the 411 fueled by Gales Gas Bars Limited. So, want to know what your take on the masks situation is. The mandatory masks. The Niagara Regional Council this past Thursday as well passed the motion to make the wearing of mandatory masks, mandatory, for a period of the next 3 months. One of the things involved in that, too, was a line that I didn't quite understand, was the fact that the regional bylaw is now going to overwrite, as the word goes, overwrite the bylaws that were passed for mandatory masks in Niagara-on-the-Lake and St. Catharines. Last week, we had information that a couple of councillors out of Niagara Falls had mentioned that one bylaw was going to be for the people and the regional bylaw for the businesses, etc. Well, that does not appear to be the case. It appears to be the case that one bylaw fits all here in Niagara. So now Niagara Falls doesn't have to pass their own bylaw, apparently. Welland doesn't have to pass their own. Fort Erie, Wainfleet, Port Colborne, etc., Grimsby. It's all encompassed now by the Niagara region mandatory mask mandate. And it didn't take very, very long for them to do that. It was a short discussion. They had deferred it for 2 weeks from before because there were some things that councillors wanted to investigate before they committed to voting on the motion as was originally presented. So Niagara region has now mandatory masks. Everywhere we go, we have to wear a mask, especially when it's indoors, of course, with in a public space. Stores, restaurants, etc., because we can go into restaurants now and we can sit down, and there seems to be some confusion as well about how you're supposed to act when you go into one of these places. Let's talk restaurants in particular. Do I have to sit there through the entire meal with my mask on? No, you don't. It's, do I have to take it off every time I put something in my mouth and put it back on? The answer is no. Once you are in, socially distanced and seated, you may remove your mask. Can someone clarify something for me? Please come this Friday. Should I decide to sit inside a coffee shop, does this mean I have to wear my mask inside, sit down, then remove and replace my mask every time I decide to take a drink from my cup? No. Yes, you have to wear it into the shop. Yes, you have to wait till you're seated and then you can take it off. You get up to go to the washroom or walk across a room, look out a window, whatever the heck it is, then the mask has to go back on. Simple as that. When you leave the premises, the mask has to go back on. Anytime you're mobile around other people in an establishment, the mask has to be on. It's pretty much that simple. And then after you leave your table or your section where you've been stationed in the restaurant or the coffee shop or whatever, then the employees will clean it after you're gone and get it ready for the next patron that enters. Okay, and then they have to go through the same routine. It's pretty simple, actually. It's not as complicated as some people are trying to make it. And I guess there's the 5-word solution right there. Put the damn mask on. Just be like Nike. Just do it, and we'll get through it. Just do it, and we'll get through it. Okay. Did not know that we were going to rhyme today, but I still am looking for your feedback because there are other points of view on this. There are people that do get a little testy when they are reminded that they're supposed to have a mask on when they're coming into whatever store it is. People will say, "Sir, ma'am, do you have a mask?" And what happens to me is I've forgotten it in my car. Here's what I start doing. I start doing this when I go out of the house. I take the mask and I do this. I just hang it around my wrist so I don't forget it. Because if I don't do this, then what's happening is I'm getting out of the car, I'm walking to the store, and then I'm coming back because I forgot the mask, and I have to go to the store, and now I lost my place in line, and you know, life is a little bit more complicated. Apparently, these people do not think it is complicated. Apparently, these people are suffering from some sort of denial or COVID fatigue, or just the ostrich complex of stick our heads in the sand and we won't be in trouble and everything will go away and leave us alone, which is not going to happen. And we're going to check out the COVID numbers in Niagara a little later in the program. But they will not tell the whole story yet because there's a lag time in this, isn't there? They want people to quarantine for 2 weeks if you come back from a trip. They want people to quarantine for 2 weeks if you travel to some provinces, New Brunswick, for example. If you wanted to take a vacation in New Brunswick, you better plan to be away about a month because you can't go from Ontario to New Brunswick unless you actually self-quarantine for a while. So here, these people are imagining they're on the moon or someplace, isolated from other people. I can't figure it out and would love to get your feedback on what you think. I would especially like to hear from people, and we're not going to give you a hard time, just listen to your points of view. I would especially like to hear from people who are anti-mask. And why are you? What's the logic behind it? Don't get me wrong. I don't like wearing the darn things either, but you just do it and we'll get through it. You know, that's it. So this video will get played again, probably around the world, because as some of these places open up, it gets a little crazy. So join the program. What happens is you click on the link that's on the post, or if you already have the Zoom application on your phone, you can call the number on the left side of your screen, 905-411-0411. Couldn't be an easier number. And what will happen is you'll plop into our green room, our waiting room. It's a Zoom window, and you'll be able to see what's going on. And then Kevin Jack of WeeStreem, our producer, and Techno Weenie here will make sure that you get into the sharing space with me, and we can have a conversation. And I'd love to get your opinion on this. So click the link, and we zoom you over here. Pardon the pun, and have a conversation about masks.
No.
What do you think? What do you do?
Lee, have your social interactions not revolved around masks for the last week and a half? And
everybody's talking about it.
Everybody has an opinion. I'm surprised how many people are anti-mask.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of valid points, too. So I'd love to hear from those people. As Lee mentioned, we're not going to give you a rough time. A lot of the points are valid.
Yeah.
But I side with you. Okay, they've made a law. This is what they think we got to do. All right, I'll wear the mask.
So
no skin off my teeth.
And when we see the numbers a little later, we'll see that they haven't exactly skyrocketed in Niagara. But as I mentioned earlier as well, they haven't skyrocketed or moved that far upward, partially because we have not waited long enough. There's an incubation period for this thing, so we might not have seen even the tip of the iceberg yet. I hope so. I hope that those gathering crowds don't result in some sort of Niagara outbreak somewhere, but we don't know yet, and it's too early to tell. That's the thing. It is too early to tell. So safety first, put the masks on, and go from there. The other thing that's happening today sometime, unfortunately it's going to be happening after we have stopped our stream for today, is there will be an announcement from the province about school for September, what their thoughts are as far as the children going back to school, probably on next week's show we'll be able to get some reaction from a number of people around Niagara as far as what's going to be happening with their children going back to school. Here are the numbers, and this is some of the argument that the anti-maskers will bring up. New cases today, 2. Okay, that is in all of Niagara. Growth rate today, 0.2%. New cases yesterday, 7. Last week when we did this program, we had hit double digits. We went into 10, which was what you might call a bit of a spike compared to previous weeks. But now we've moderated again. So 2 today, 7 yesterday, growth rate 0.9%, which is, I suppose, what the experts at one point in time called an acceptable level, although 0 is where you really want to be. And the anti-maskers will say, well, hey, I'm the 9 people that have been reported as testing positive over the last couple of days. That means that the entire, like 500,000 people or however many it is that's in the Niagara region, have to have contact with those 9 people. So what are the odds, right? What are the odds that this is going to happen? Probably pretty slim and none, and Slim just left town. But the thing is, that's not necessarily how it happens. It increases geometrically. All you need to do is have one person get in touch, or be in touch, or be around one of those 9, and then you start to do this geometric progression, and that's where you start to get into trouble. So it's not like you have to meet one of the 9. All you have to do is hang out with somebody who knew somebody who knows a guy that ran into one of the 7 or one of the 9 or whatever, and then you can see it's like a pyramid scheme. It just goes boom, did boom, did boom, and video. That's why videos like what we see on Clifton Hill is so absolutely, positively disturbing.
Now, Lee, yesterday had a conversation with a guy who's a server. He just went back to work Friday in Niagara Falls. Masks were mandatory in his establishment for the indoor dining because of stage 3. And he was saying he doesn't like the mask. Have you ever tried to work an 8-hour shift and wear a mask, especially when you're in and out of the kitchen, so it's a hot environment?
No question.
And made the argument that, listen, if I'm talking to somebody and my guests aren't wearing their masks while at their table, well, what if I touch something and then touch my mask? Or let's say the particles are airborne and my mask blocks it. Now I touch the mask and touch the plate. And I'm doing that from place to place to place and saying I don't really think that these masks are the golden key. So again, there are legitimate points to be made on the anti-mask. I'm not an anti-masker,
nor I.
But the points are valid.
I ran into a situation where I was standing in line to go into a store. The store had a security person that was a staff member, making sure that people came in at proper intervals, etc., and like that. Well, this fellow was standing in line without a mask on, but when he went to go into the store, the person said, "Sir, do you have a mask?" He said yes, and he put the mask on. But he continued to talk. He said, you know, the bugs that spreads the COVID virus is much smaller than the holes in this mask. You know, it can get through there, etc. And she said, "Sir, I'm not going to discuss the merits of this with you. It's a bylaw in the city, so we're doing our best to enforce it." And, you know, grumble. Then the next person said, "Oh, by the way, there's sanitizer there on the table. If you would like to use that, we'd appreciate that as well." "Do I have to?" "No, you don't have to." "Good." And he just walked into the store. So, you know, it's because the molecules or whatever it is that spreads the COVID virus is microscopic. The masks don't help. Well, we receive all kinds of scientific evidence to the contrary, but again, you don't argue, really. You just, you know, nod and smile, and what can you do? Because as Kevin and I were talking about prior to the show, oftentimes you run into people that are really ready to go toe-to-toe with you on this thing. Emotions sometimes run very high, and that's why we would love to hear your perspective. That's what this show really is all about. And I know it's a little bit different when you call in to throw your face on the TV or on Facebook, and we're live streaming, so people can be a little bit hesitant. And we love the fact that you watch the show, and we love the fact that you comment on it. The show's been very, very well received. I think we were up in the thousands of viewers and participants last week, and now we're live streaming on Niagara 411 as well as the 411 on live stream Niagara. So we expect that number to grow, and that's awesome because it gives us an opportunity to be the venue that can communicate with all of Niagara in the moment while things are happening. And yeah, we relive things that are going on over the past week and talk about some of the things that are coming up in the future. But what's happening right now in real time is you and your opinions on what's going on. And the big flashing neon sign of what's going on in Niagara is masks. It's still COVID, and then it's going to be school. And how long does it go? What do we do? How do we handle this? Who's in and who's out as far as the masks are concerned? Are the restaurants really opening up? I know some have, since Phase 3 was enabled in the Niagara region. Some have not, saying, well, we'd still like to keep a distance from our customers, and we want to ensure the fact that everybody is safe on our staff and customers are safe, etc. So some restaurants are not allowing people inside. Is it an economic move or is it an altruistic move? I don't know. You be the judge, and that's up to the business owners. But again, we have many, many opinions across Niagara on this thing, and we're not going to suffer any shortage of them going forward either. So get yours heard. If you have an argument for us, either pro or con, that can help enlighten our fellow Niagarans, by all means, click on the link. You'll pop automatically into the Zoom room. Kevin will look after you, and we'll have a conversation. If you already have the Zoom app on your phone or your computer, just dial 905-411-0411, and it'll automatically shoot you into the green room, and Kevin will deal with you from there. And it'll be seamless, and it'll be fun. We'll have a conversation, and you never know what comes out of the various conversations we might have around Niagara. The beaches seem to have been relatively quiet. I haven't seen anything going crazy on Sunset. Maybe that's calmed down a little bit.
No, Ailey. I was reading some comments, I believe, on Niagara 411
was there more?
this weekend. Oh, it was a bit of an S show up there.
Yeah?
Saying that there were so many people that they had to close the road off altogether. Now, the city of St. Catharines did make a bylaw, I believe, limiting access to Sunset Beach to only Niagara residents, but nobody was there checking ID.
Okay.
People were saying that the boat launch was just backed up, all 20-somethings, and then at one point they actually just closed access to Sunset Beach.
Well, I misspoke then, I guess, because I was seeing mostly things like Clifton Hill, and I hadn't seen the postings about the beach, so we're still. And then what happens is people park illegal. Remember, illegally they closed the mill. Remember?
Morningstar Mill, yeah.
Mill.
It's still brutal along there.
And but that whole area is now supposed to be closed. But people are still parking
in between the don't park signs.
Yeah.
And know what the thing is, Lee? It's funny. My wife and I were talking about this. If you're coming from the GTA, the parking ticket that you receive in Niagara is probably less than what they're used to paying for parking just to go to the park that they want to go to.
Isn't that?
I'm being honest. What's a parking ticket in St. Catharines, in Thorold?
$15.
Parking downtown Toronto, if you want to go to Ashbridges Bay, you're $20-$40.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you're looking at. So to people in the GTA, it's nothing.
No.
Sure, I'll take the fine.
Speaking of that, it's people, again, Kevin said, have most of your social interactions not been about masks? And I said, yeah, they have been. And the Phase 2, Phase 3 thing. My position was, in spite of the fact that I know there's an economic component to this, businesses and employees getting back to work, which is also important, I get that. However, my position, that notwithstanding, my position was, please don't open Niagara until Toronto opens. Because when we go to Phase 3, Toronto, Peel still in Phase 2, we're going to get hammered by people that want to come here, and they want to come here anyway, and they do come here. But if we're in Phase 3 and they're in Phase 2, guess what's going to happen? So as much as the Phase 3 thing is kind of nice, and it gives us a little bit more breathing room, pardon the pun with the mask thing all going, it's a bit of a, as Kevin put it, S show. So
now, Lee, can you read some of these comments? Not sure if they're showing up on your screen. And these are the exact type of people. Just click on that link and join the program. Sure, we'll get to your comments, but we would love to see your face, and we'd love to interact with you and find out why you feel the way you do.
Yeah, well, and there's a position right there that we hear often. Sounds exactly like communism. No one can force you to wear a mask. It's the law. Find it. Educate yourself. No one is obligated to explain why you cannot wear a mask. Medical reason, personal reason, etc. It's my health, my body, my choice. You got a problem with put your freaking mask and stay at home. So, again, that's there's a lot of that sentiment out there. What about closing Clifton Hill to cars? That was one that just flipped by. Oh, please, put the flipping mask on. It works. Terry says, my husband works on Clifton Hill. And again, there you've got a whole new breed of frontline workers now, and you've got tourist industry people that deal with the public on a day-to-day basis. So
there was also this video as well, Lee, and this is the reaction from the City of Niagara Falls and Mayor
yes.
Jim Diodati, I think, to the viral video more than anything and what we've been seeing on Clifton Hill. And this was Thursday on Clifton Hill.
Yeah. This was a week after the video that you saw before. These vibrant shirt ambassadors, if you will, COVID ambassadors, or whatever it is he decided to call them, will be roaming the area in an attempt to prevent what you saw before from happening again. I'm not totally convinced that that is going to happen. We extended an invitation to the mayor to be on the program today, but unfortunately he had other things to do and was not available, so we'll have to catch up with him at another date. As a matter of fact, maybe next week would be even better, because we'll see how this weekend rolls out. We'll see how we saw what the problem is. We'll see how the solution fits the problem this weekend, because that will be what tells the tale. And we'll also follow up, as I said, with whatever information we get today with regard to schools in September in Ontario, because Premier Ford is expected to make an announcement that touches on that subject, or focuses perhaps on that subject when he comes up for his daily news briefing today. Coming up on the program, a gentleman by the name of Gary Wilkins is going to be joining us. He, at least I assume so. He contacted me after the program last week, and he is someone that spends a lot of time around the whirlpool in the gorge. He and his friend actually executed a rescue from down there over the past week. He is very, very concerned about some of the things that are happening in the gorge. There's one of the things that are happening right there. This is just part of what he's gathered up and deals with on pretty much a daily basis. He loves it down there. He spends as much of his time down there as is possible. This was kind of an interesting one too. See that sign? Danger. No trespassing. No exit. This is a pretty clear statement. No access beyond this point. That sign was on the tree for exactly 3 days. It disappeared and became that tree. These are shots that Gary sent me over the past number of days. So who's taken the signs down? Oh, I guess it's somebody that wants to go a little further, and the sign says don't do that. So down comes the sign, and it might be tacked up on somebody's bedroom wall or behind their door or something like that, because they probably took it with them. So these are the things that are getting people into trouble. And then there's the great debate, as always, of who foots the bill. Well, we foot the bill, that's for sure. So Gary's going to be calling in at some point in the very near future, maybe in the next couple of minutes, and we will have a stream chat with him. Want to remind you that we are fueled by Gales Gas Bars Limited here on the 411. We are at Fiddler's Poorhouse, and just an absolutely beautiful setting here in the here in the restaurant, in the window, Open window, hot day. There is a heat warning in effect as well for Niagara. You will notice up above my head here the weather for the next few days. 31 degrees is going to be the high today, with 40% chance of some precipitation and maybe a thunderstorm in the offing for overnight tonight, or maybe even earlier this evening. Okay. Then the cool front slides in. If you call 28, 27, 26, and 26 cool, I assume mainly what that means is we're going to have less humidity to deal with come tomorrow. All right, so that hot, steamy feeling should hopefully be lessened by tomorrow. Something else popped up on Niagara 411. There were continued protests in Niagara-on-the-Lake by animal rights activists who continue to bang their drum for the abolition of the horse-drawn carriages in Niagara-on-the-Lake. And I've chatted with these people in the past, and frankly, if you know anything about these horses and the people that own them, they are probably the best looked after animals you will ever see. They are working creatures that like their work, and they're not mistreated in any way. And that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. And sometimes nobody loves animals more than I do, let me tell you. And if I had a feeling that some animal is being abused, it always absolutely angers me to no end. But I don't feel that way with those horses that are in Niagara-on-the-Lake. But the protests continue. They get in the way of operators. They get in the way of businesses. They get in the way of these people trying to ply their trade, and they get in the way of tourists and people that are trying to enjoy themselves in Niagara-on-the-Lake. So. I'm here, I guess, normally to present all sides of the position, but in this case, that's my humble opinion, that these things are well looked after. We have a gentleman that has stopped by to have a chat with us today. He's at the other end of the poorhouse, and Gary Wilkins, as I was talking about a little while ago, spends an awful lot of time in the gorge. Gary, welcome to the program. I didn't know we'd see you so up close and personal.
Good morning, Lee. How are you?
I'm well. I'm very well.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Well, Gary, first of all, tell us a little bit about you. Who is Gary Wilkins? What do you do?
I'm just a naturalist that loves the river, and I enjoy it. I've been doing it for 42 years. I love taking my family down there. My son loves it. It's just something that I have a passion for.
What do you do? What do you do for a living?
Drywall.
What's your job?
Drywaller.
Drywalling. Okay. Not a lot of call for drywalling at the whirlpool.
No, and that's a good thing. I'm not bombing drywall down the hill.
All right. So let's cut to the chase here. Why did you reach out to come on the program today?
Well, Lee, it's just it gets kind of infuriating. I'm down there probably 3-4 times a week, and every Monday, like I'll be going down there sometime today. I'm bringing up 3 or 4 bags of garbage, 5 bags of garbage at a time. Some of these people could just literally just take their garbage with them. And if you're not taking one, if you're bringing down one piece, my advice is to bring back 2. So it's quite simplistic. It's not a hard thing to do.
The people that you see down there most often, what is the percentage that you can tell are locals and as opposed to outside people, tourists?
I'm going to say 95% outsiders,
yeah,
and 5% locals, because again, Lee, I've been down there 42 years, and farther back in my early days when I was going down there, it was all locals. We enjoyed fishing in the river. We enjoyed just doing it, whatever we do down there.
Yeah.
And now it's just a bunch of tourists that are going down there. They're playing in the water. They're swimming in the water. Just recently, they arrested a young kid down there, drunk out of his heck. And, they walk him up and they give him a ticket and he's on his way. So, it's getting frustrating, that's for sure.
Now, we showed a couple of pictures earlier that you sent me over the course of the week of,
Yes, sir.
of the warning sign that was nailed to the tree down in the gorge there, and then you said it lasted for 3 days.
That's
there it
it.
is. There, it lasted for 3 days, and then was gone. I'm assuming these are just people that just want to go where they're not supposed to go and take down the sign.
Well, there is a path there, but these signs are up there for a reason. They're up there for a reason to keep people safe. And it's out of hand. Like these signs are there for a reason.
Yeah.
And they literally gotta just leave them alone. The police are there to try to help them out. It wasn't long ago. It was last weekend actually. I went down there and with a buddy of mine, and we watched a guy clumsy. He had a big 20 quart cooler, and he fell 65 feet.
Oh.
And he was about 8 feet from the water's edge, and it would have been another 40-foot drop into the water. So
Wow.
me and my buddy Brian, we went down, we rescued him, and we got him back up on the path. And these things are just so avoidable. Like who needs a cooler down there, like just to go down and have a bunch of beers?
We've had a number of comments about this topic. People that are in there and get stranded or need rescuing.
Absolutely.
And Gary, there's one of two things that people say. Either because we're talking about it more, it seems like it's happening more often, or it actually is happening more often. You're down there all the time. Are people getting into trouble more often than they used to?
It's crazy how bad that selfie is important to somebody. Like they're just I can send you pictures up like crazy.
Yeah.
And they're just going down there for that one picture, and then the Niagara residents are flipping the bills for these. They send our firefighters down there, send our rescue people down there, and for what? Like it doesn't make any sense, but it's going to keep happening. And my biggest fear is a fence goes around that whole place. That's a place that I have a passion for. I love it, and this is why I go down there and I do what I do.
So, how do you? You're more familiar with it, obviously, than I. How do you erect a fence and still allow people to have the pleasure of taking a hike through the gorge, or you do just fence off the non-accessible areas?
Well, that's a slippery slope because there are so many places that you can get into. For myself, Lee, if you were to block off my access, you're putting my safety at risk because I'm going to go another way because I once again I have a passion for this place.
Right.
So just stay on the marked trails. Do what the police are telling you. Do what the fire department is telling you. Do what the Niagara Parks Commission is telling you. Just stay on the marked trails and you'll be just fine. Don't put yourself in risk to take that selfie.
I saw a story over the past week as well that they were going to increase or add, or I can't remember the word of, to have a couple of police officers or a police officer and other sort of strolling through the area to remind people of where they're supposed to go, or at least just to show a law enforcement presence. Is that still being done?
It happened Thursday.
Yeah.
It happened this past weekend. I was out of town this weekend, so I don't really know what happened down there this weekend. But yeah, there is a presence down there. It could be a little bit better, but they are there. And in 42 years, I've never seen it once. Never once have I seen this.
So you'd be in favor of more patrols?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like these people that are taking the signs down, like, again, they're there for a reason.
Okay. And again, the message Gary put out forward is the sad part about it is this beautiful area of Mother Nature is being littered like crazy. You just sent me one picture of the bags that you had
on the helicopter pad. Yes, that took that was all within 60 square feet. That garbage alone, and then there was more that I think that day I got 7 bags, and that was 3 or 4 coming down the hill, where people will just take their drink and just toss it into the bush thinking, okay, well, I'll never see it again. So,
right.
We've got to preserve this for future generations. We have a blessed place that we can go.
Do you feel there should be stiff fines for people?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it should be a lot more than what the parking tickets are, what you guys were just referring to at the top of the show. That's for sure. Like $300-400. If you get caught littering down there, I think more people should be vigilant to watch out for the people that are throwing the garbage away. That's my opinion.
That one gentleman in particular should be very grateful that you like to spend a lot of your time in that part of our beautiful region, and but you can't depend on that.
Absolutely not. Like where we go, I know I'm safe. I know I've got tons of experience down there, Lee. I don't go off the marked trails. And this gentleman, yeah, you are right. Like, he was lucky that we were there at the right time, and I have a video of not him falling, but the next day I went down and I took a video of where he did fall, and it's scary as heck. This guy probably was. He was afraid. That's for sure, and he never made it to his destination.
Was he hurt?
He hurt his leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where he was going because he had asked me where that one spot was, and he never made it. And when we walked, it was funny because when we walked out and we left, somebody else had his cooler, so he left his cooler behind.
What a loss!
Right?
Yeah.
Well. Somebody enjoyed a bunch of beers.
There you go. Gary, thanks for joining us, and I'm going to try to leave our option open going forward for gorge issues as they come up, as they inevitably will, to call on you and get your perspective on it, if you don't mind.
Anytime, Lee. May I just add one thing?
Yeah.
I'd just like to thank Nick from Niagara 411 for posting a story a couple of weeks ago. It got a lot of attention, and hopefully that brings a little bit more of awareness to the issue down there.
Indeed. So, do great work. So, Gary, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate you popping by the Polar House here at Fiddler's. And we'll, I hope, chat with you again soon.
Thank you very much, Lee. Have a great day.
Okay, stay safe out there now.
You as well, sir.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
So there you go. When you go into the gorge and you take your stuff with you, and when it becomes garbage, take your stuff back and take something else with you as well. It's sort of like the law of cleaning up litter. Don't just take yours and somebody else's with you as well. All right. So again, thanks to Gary Wilkins for joining us in here. One of the things that he said a couple of times was that he spent 42 years down there. He's got a lot of experience, and he still doesn't go off the paths that you're supposed to stay on. Now that's telling you something right there. So when you've got somebody that even has that much experience, he could probably go in all kinds of places and be just fine because he knows it like the back of his hand. But the thing is, he doesn't, because that experience has taught him it's a very serious thing to be reckoned with. That's a powerful, powerful stretch of river, and there are a lot of ways you can get into trouble down in that gorge. And it happens fast. So again, thanks to Gary for coming by on that. So masks has been our topic so far until we got down into the gorge. And again, if that's a running theme through the program, you'll see our little mask logo up here. Man, that's Kevin's a creative techno weenie wizard here with stuff like that. And from WeeStream.
Thanks, Lee.
You're welcome.
I like the way it turned out.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Hold on a second here. Why don't I put this right on your face?
Oh, okay. I'll sit still.
Let's see if we can do that. No, it's a bit of a... Let's see.
Have you learned how to...
pretty close. Not bad.
Not bad.
Can you lean into it?
Oh, the other way.
There we go. Hey, I think that's a little more effective, Lee.
I'm getting there. Oh, but it's got to cover your nose too, right? I actually heard somebody on a news program on the radio that had interviewing a doctor for a radio newscast, telling people how you're supposed to wear a mask. It has to cover your nose. do we really have to be told how to wear a mask? Do we really? It hits me the same way as when you go on an airplane and they show you how to use a seatbelt. Do we really, in 2020, need to be told how to use a seatbelt? La boucle, la boule, la blah, blah. Do we really need to know this? You pull the thing, it lets go. You plug it in, it clicks, you're good. You tighten it up, like, come on. I can understand in the 50s when they first started putting seatbelts in cars, that people were like, well, okay, how does this work? You know, but not 60, 70 years later. If you don't know how to use a seatbelt right now, you got yourself a bit of an issue. You have more problems than wearing seatbelts, let me tell you.
Lee, wanted to let you know that we've got Gail, who is joining the program in our Zoom room. So we want to thank her very much, and let's see if we can't get her on the program here, shall we?
Okay. We await. Hi, Gail. Uh-oh.
Oh, wait, you know what, Gail? You're still muted there. Can you unmute yourself?
Gotcha.
Hey, now we have you. Welcome again to the 411. Where are you?
I am in St. Catharines. I'm just north of you.
Okay.
Before Carlton Street. So
yeah. Okay.
Carlton Avenue, so.
All right. Well, welcome to the 411. What has inspired your call today?
Well, I have been a homeschooler, unschooler, free schooler, world schooler for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also the principal of an alternative private school.
Ah.
And a parent advocate for alternative education.
Okay. What would you like to share with us today?
Well, a lot of families that I've been talking to, because I've been getting a lot of calls, as have a lot of the homeschooling groups have been getting a lot of questions because parents are concerned about sending their kids back to school.
Mm-hmm.
And basically the conversation is, but what if I don't want to send my kids back to school? What are my options?
Right.
And a lot of families don't know that they have many options. They don't know the Education Act. They don't know what their rights are. And the fear factor comes in. I think we hear the same questions from almost everybody. The first one is, but I'm not a teacher. How am I going to know what to do? They don't have the self-confidence or the self-esteem to think that they have what it takes to help their children learn.
Okay. What do you have to say to them?
Well, to them, I would say you have always been your child's best educator. If your child can talk and speak a language, then you have helped that child do something that is one of the most difficult things on the planet, is learning another language.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to some people it might come more easy, but that's just one example. Everything that your child knows, you have been there to support them, to help them, to encourage them, to guide them. And that is what a teacher is. That is what children need to be able to learn. So whether it's yourself doing the support for your child, or whether it's a dance teacher or a karate instructor or a violin instructor or a piano instructor, all those things are available for parents.
Okay, Gail, let me give you this scenario, and perhaps you can help us out, because you brought up a really good point in the fact that some parents have that fear factor where they don't want to send their children back to school for fear that they do get sick. So let's say the scenario is this. We've got mom and dad. They both need to get back to work. They both need to start earning a living. They're nervous about let's assume for a second that we're going to have full-time school in September. We don't know yet, but let's assume that we are. for this case scenario, and but they don't want to send their children back to school, and they are nervous about homeschooling. They want to make sure that their children learns the right things in the right way, etc. What do? What are their options?
Oh, there are so many. And for this particular question, I am not a lawyer. I am not giving legal advice, but I will quote the Education Act to explain part of it. Mm-hmm. So in Section 21(2)(a) of the Education Act, it says, a person is excused from attendance at school providing satisfactory instruction is received at home or elsewhere.
Okay.
So the first important point is a child is excused, not may be excused. Mm-hmm. I've been misquoted many, many times on that, and it's really aggravating when it's published in a paper and you have no resources to come back and say, no, you misquoted me.
Well, you've just set the record. You've just set the record straight now.
Yay! So, who would excuse a child? Well, it would be the parents. So right. The parents would excuse the child, not the principal, not the Board of Education, not the Ministry of Education. So, first, they have that right. Secondly, satisfactory instruction is not defined by the Education Act, nor should it be. What might be satisfactory instruction for a Hasidic Jewish family may not be for a Muslim family, may not be for an autistic child, mm-hmm. Or another, type of challenges. So, in that respect, that relieves parents of being bound in their mind right now. Most parents are bound to thinking that they have to do the curriculum from the school, which is not the law at all. They are not bound or tied to doing that curriculum. They can choose whatever curriculum they want. So getting back to your question, at home or elsewhere. So if you have family members who are willing to support you in this endeavor, there's a ton of resources. You can get help from family members, which is elsewhere as well. Also, there are homeschoolers. We have a thriving homeschool community in the Niagara region, and many of those parents would be delighted to help out parents with having an extra child that may be a similar age to
right.
one of their own children.
Yeah.
There are also a lot of private alternatives. So there are also daycare providers who might be willing to take that on as well. So there are lots of options.
Gail, where do parents go to explore those options? Is there a site? Is there a reference number or something?
The best resource I would recommend is the Ontario Federation of Teaching Parents. Online, it is ontariohomeschool.org.
ontariohomeschool.org. Okay.
That's right. And that I was the secretary of the Federation for a long time, and I am still a member, almost 30 years, for Ontario Federation of Teaching Parents.
That's fascinating. I did not know that such an organization existed, I have to tell you.
It's existed for many decades, and we try to help families navigate the alternative, because while we're not dissing or bashing the school system, but it doesn't work for everybody, mm-hmm. and it doesn't work for every family.
Gail, what do your instincts tell you is going to happen here in Ontario? Do you think we are headed for full-time school in September?
I am sure that they are going to attempt that, or whatever option is safest. I understand they're thinking about the opposite days or alternate days options. I think that's going to be a challenge for parents as well, because looking at these alternatives, they can take advantage of those perhaps on the alternate days.
Yeah.
Homeschooling, world schooling, all of that is, the goal is to help children learn the best way they can, not to prevent them from accessing a source of learning that will benefit them.
That's great information. Now, I'd like to bring in our executive producer, Kevin Jack Gale of WeeStream Niagara, and mainly because I am not directly affected by this issue. He is. He has 2 young children at home. His wife works full-time as well. Kevin, what do you make of some of the information that we've received here this morning from Gale?
I think one of the points that you've brought up, Gail, that is probably the one that is most pressing, at least with parents that I talk to, is this question about whether or not they are going to bring their kids back to school. And a lot of people are weighing with that. We'll find out, as Lee mentioned, maybe more clarification today from the provincial government as to what that's going to look like. We don't know what it's going to look like, and a lot of parents are trying to weigh that decision. Even if they do open, is it worth the risk? And a lot depends on your personal beliefs, what grade your children happen to be in, your work situation and things like that. So I think that's what a lot of people are gripped with. Now, here's a question. If people do decide to homeschool their child, let's say for the entire school year, what is required from them to reintegrate their child in, I guess it would be September 2021, and ensure that they meet the baseline to advance to that next grade?
Okay, there is a policy 131 of the Ministry of Education. It is, I need to clarify this really from the onset, it is not law. You are not required to notify the school that you are taking your children out or re-registering them. Let's say you move to a different location and you withdraw your students. Not everybody tells the school that they're moving, so they just move. They don't always think about notifying the school. They just enroll their child into the next school in the next place that they live, right? And that school is responsible for sending what is called an Ontario student record. So they, when they get the registration, will say what was the last school that the child was in. They send a letter to the former school. The Ontario student record, which has a record of all the students' past school experience, goes to that new school. So there, it's very simple. There's no great requirement involved.
Okay.
If you want to be transferring to alternative home-based education for the time being, and it's working for you, Policy 131 suggests that you may send a letter. It says you should send a letter, but again, it's not law, to the school. But it is respectful. If that's the school where your child has been, letting them know that you are taking responsibility back for your children's education is just a matter of respect. But if your children have never been in school, there is no requirement to send a letter to the school that the child may have been going to.
All right, Gail, thank you so much for getting in touch with the program today and coming on. Information that's going to be helpful to a lot of people. Thank you very much.
I also have a Facebook group, Facebook page called Liberated Learning Niagara. So if people want to look up Liberated Learning Niagara, I will be happy to answer more questions. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Our pleasure. Thanks for being here. Great information in that call from Gail. So hopefully it will set your mind at ease if you peruse the site and those the Facebook page, etc. If you have any questions and are concerned about September, there are certainly some resources there, at least for you to explore. And Kevin, there were some other things that happened around Niagara that were pretty spectacular over the last couple of days. There was the car fire that happened on the Queen Elizabeth Highway. I believe it was that not yesterday? I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I turned myself on. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was yesterday. I think QEW right around Fruitland.
Yeah, and the one of the questions that was asked in the comments on Niagara 411 when the pictures were put up, I had as well. How did it catch fire in the back? A lot of cars will catch fire because of an engine malfunction or an engine fire, where all the heat and the combustion part of the vehicle is. But that one, it's a Kia. People wanted to know what it was. It's a Kia Sorento, by the way. I don't know whether that means anything to you, but that's what it is. And it's just absolutely flaming like crazy, as you can see. Now, I don't think there was any like gas tank explosion. That's kind of what you expect almost, is when you've got a vehicle that is burning from the rear, you almost expect a big bang. Don't you? I do. But I guess that didn't happen. The firefighters showed up, and there was also some video of them pouring fire retardant on and water on the fire. So,
Are you allowed to use that word anymore?
Now.
Now, in the second picture,
it all depends on the context. Everything these days is context. Yeah, there's the second one. Now, here's what's really crazy. Look in the top right corner. Kevin's zooming in on this right now. And there were almost as many comments about the alien that is in the picture than there was about the car fire itself. Is that not spooky? And just about every picture, if not every picture that we have seen of this incident, we've got, it looks like an alien in sunglasses, actually. You know? The alien's future is so bright he's got to wear shades. So, is it just an illusion, or is it really an alien? Do.
Now, I had heard, Lee, this week that the U.S. government is going to actually release all of their findings on UFOs. I just came across that somewhere.
I don't know.
Any legitimacy to that?
I don't know whether they'll ever release everything, because they lied to people for so many years about so many things that talk about credibility going down the sink. I don't know.
Well, Lee, if this is not proof that there are other life forms, what is?
I don't know. Isn't that here? And here all this time we thought that the news story was about the car fire. Apparently not. Apparently not.
Lee, we are getting a lot of comments on Niagara 411, so I want to bring in some of those, but again, also want to encourage people to join the conversation just like Gail did. Just click on that link, and we can throw you on with Lee, because we love the comments, and we'll get to them, but we also really love the conversation. We love the viewpoints. We love the interactiveness of it.
If you've got a comment, make the comment face-to-face. It's easy. And we can have a conversation about whatever it is you're thinking about. I think anyone needing rescue because of stupidity should have to pay a fine and take a course on safety in the gorge. Start recouping some of the taxpayers' dollars that we're spending. Our first responders are stretched right now. Do not put yourself in a predicament where you might need them, period. Brian, you shouldn't be on the trail either. Brian. Who's Brian? Okay. Maybe they should put some garbage cans along the way. You know what? That's a pretty basic suggestion, but I think it's a good one. There may be some sort of nature-friendly. I mean, if you put a can there, so, there's some hooligans are going to throw it in the river or do something, but maybe there's something you can attach to a tree or something that is not damageable or removable. Because if you just put a can there, it's going to last as long as that sign did on the tree. It's not going to be there for very long. Sorry, Gary, not Brian. Littering makes me furious. Thank you for picking up. Love Nick, Niagara 411. We love Nick too. Stella says, Terry, it's not the area that's dangerous, it's the people with no respect or knowledge of the area and wearing proper footwear. We are there frequently and never have an issue. Just be smart. And that went to my point before about the fact that Gary has been down there a long time and he still practices doing the right thing and staying in the right places when he is in the gorge. I think it's inappropriate time to be taking risks, putting yourself in precarious situations where you might need assistance in a time where our frontline resources are already taxed. Also, a good point. Agreed, but it's not a risk when you're experienced and have been doing it for years. You have to have a healthy respect for nature and how powerful it can be. And the people with experience do have that respect. There's absolutely no question. The people that know what they're doing don't get into trouble. The people that don't know what they're doing and shouldn't be there in the first place are the ones that have an issue. Same thing with skiers on big mountains in the wintertime, going off trails where they're not supposed to be. Snowmobilers going into the back country where they're not supposed to be, getting off trails. It's a common theme when it comes to man or woman versus nature. Nature always wins. And even though we do what we can to protect people from themselves, it's not always possible to do that. You just can't fix stupid. Or inexperience, for that matter. But everything is out there to try to protect you. The signs are there, the marked trails are there. Everything is there for you to have a nice, enjoyable outing. Take advantage of doing the right thing. School board should be offering come September online courses so kids do not need to go to school if not necessary. And there's been the great debate about the online courses as well, and a lot of the teachers have done great work putting up those online lessons, etc. Some children really take to it and others don't. The problem is, as I've heard from some parents, the online learning is great, but they've got to get back to work. They've got to start earning some money and not playing teacher. So that's the flip side of that coin. I don't understand why they can't do classes like this live stream. Kids can watch and type in if they have questions. They can do it. They've proven that they can do things like that. Again, the parents' argument about that is, I got to earn some money for the family. I got to pay the mortgage and buy the food, and that's the priority. If I'm at home, online, I'm not doing that. So, and as we get open to back up, some of the work from home situations are altering as well. It's not a simple solution. We make it sound sometimes like it's a simple solution. Just put the kids back in school, but it's not. I heard a news report. I haven't seen this figure in Niagara. Hopefully we will once we know what's going to be going on with the provincial announcement, RE schooling in September. But I heard an announcement today that in Toronto, and I know this is a huge municipality, but just by example, in Toronto, the cost of sending students back to school, elementary, we're just talking elementary, not even high school right now, elementary students back to school, I believe the figure was somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.5 billion in order to be able to send the children back to school, to elementary school, with the minimum class size or maximum class size of 15. So two things struck me. They've spent a lot of money on less important things, so full steam ahead and get her done. The other thing is it took COVID-19 for the teachers to get what they want, and that is smaller class sizes. So now I know that there's going to probably be some conspiracy theorist out there saying that this was all caused by the teachers. The teachers spread COVID-19 so that they could get smaller class sizes.
Yeah, but they're also getting online learning.
Yeah.
And they fought that.
Well,
let's take a look again at some of the COVID numbers.
Yes, let's do that.
And let's do a little bit of a deeper dive.
Okay. 2 new cases today. Growth rate 0.2%. Not totally unacceptable. New cases yesterday, 7. Growth rate almost 1%. Days to double at current rate 131. Okay? So it won't take too many days to double those figures. There's the ER, the 1.1 effective. What is it? ER. Scroll down a little bit, Kev.
Oh, the effective reproductive number?
Yeah,
Sorry
I wanted to
about
make
that.
sure I got that word right. Yeah, 1.1.
I've never seen this stat before.
Average number of new cases per day, not including outbreak cases. Okay. Yeah, outbreak cases are what they call cases that happen all in one place, like a retirement home or a long-term care facility or a hospital area. Those are like confined outbreaks. This is the public. This is just the at large, if you will, current average of 2.1 per day. And this is specifically for Niagara, correct, Kevin?
Yeah, correct. And this is
Okay.
for July 12th to July 18th. And the chart below that, Lee, is the high number is 2.5 and 0 at the bottom. And this is going back over a couple of weeks, just to the beginning of July.
Yeah.
So you can see that in the last 3 or 4 days, we've had a spike.
So this takes us through that Niagara Falls video on Clifton Hill, right? So we actually probably don't have any numbers that might be potentially connected.
Yeah,
With-
sorry, you're
with
right. The
that.
end of this would be July 18th.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. This doesn't really take into account what would be the aftermath of
Exactly.
that video. And I haven't heard the reports publicly per se, but I've been reading them online. They did confirm about there was a worker at the Niagara Speedway, the
Yes.
go-kart track.
Yes.
I've heard maybe a HOCO employee, maybe not.
Yeah.
They're being a little clandestine about it.
Well, I had heard and saw the article that it was an employee of that speedway, the go-kart.
Yeah, that was confirmed.
Yeah. Now, in that case, do they also do a deep clean of an area like that? I would think they would attempt to, at least.
Try and pull up what the response was. I think they may have decided to close, Lee, although it may not have been that drastic.
Yeah.
I'll try and pull that up, and let's take a look at some of the other numbers here.
While Kevin's doing that, I just want to do a quick rest in peace nod to a couple of household names that passed on over the course of the last few days. Eddie Shack, a true Canadian original was Eddie Shack. A lot of you might be too young to remember there was even a record about him. Clear the Track, Here Comes Shack was a song that came out back in his heyday with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He participated in 4 of the Toronto Maple Leafs Stanley Cups, scored the winning goal in the 4th one, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, which I could be. I'm not a hockey statistician by any stretch of the imagination, but and I'd met Eddie a few times, and he just a warm human being and a true character. I'll never forget, of course, he was the spokesman for that soft drink outlet called the Pop Shop. Remember the Pop Shop? I got a nose for value. That was Eddie, and it was. And he also, one of his best friends was a fellow who was a newspaper columnist in Toronto, a fellow by the name of Paul Rimstead, and they were a couple of characters. Let me tell you, they spent a lot of time creating their own stories, if you will, in and around Toronto. Anyway, Eddie Shack, a true Canadian original, and what a memory for Toronto Maple Leaf fans and Canadians in general. Used to spend a fair bit of time in Niagara as well, did Eddie? So there you go. As well as thanks for all the entertainment, Mr. Shack. And Regis Philbin, speaking of entertainment, he holds the record for the most numbers, for the highest number of hours in front of a television camera. Highest number, think about the impact of that. Highest number of hours on television, on network television. Regis Philbin passed away this past week. He was, I believe, 88. Yeah, dies at 88. And He was another nice man. They did he and Kathy Lee not bring their show to Niagara one time?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, quite a number of years ago. And the one thing about Regis was he was always positive. I don't think I ever remembered hearing Regis Philbin seem angry or upset or frustrated or any one of those words. He was just always a really positive, upbeat, entertaining guy.
You know what, Lee? I was talking to a guy just yesterday on a Zoom call that worked on the shows, not just when Regis came to Niagara Falls, but helped Regis when he did a cross-Canada tour, kind of a speaking stand-up type engagement.
Yeah.
And he said that he was the nicest guy, an old-school celebrity, always pleases, always thank yous, and he says, you know what, today's celebrity is missing that.
Yeah, no question. I don't know how many people that are streaming this right now can remember a comedian by the name of Joey Bishop. He was sort of one of the periphery of the Rat Pack back in the Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Peter Lawford days. Joey Bishop was a bit of one of those periphery Rat Packers. Well, at one point in time, there's Joey. Joey Bishop had a TV talk show, a late-night talk show, the Joey Bishop Show, much like the Tonight Show or the Late Show or whatever. And Regis Philbin was his sidekick. Like Ed McMahon was the sidekick of Johnny Carson back in the day. Regis Philbin's one of his earliest gigs.
Can you think of another talented sidekick, Lee? On a live talk show?
Live talk show.
No, there's probably none. Probably none.
The name Kevin rings a bell.
No. Anyway, continue with Joey and Regis.
So these guys, and after all these years, when he finally got that show with Kathy Lee Gifford, he said, "This is my last shot. I got to make it successful." So he had a feeling that he was the twilight years of his career were coming, and how wrong he was, because he did make it successful and did the show for decades. So again, as Kevin said, a unique type celebrity that you often don't run across these days. One of the classic old celebrities, and that's the story of the week. If we were going to nail a story of the week, the one that's been getting the most talk, the one up in this corner here, masks, and the one just above me here, where the Speedway sign is, and the gathering of those throngs, most of them maskless and way too close together on Clifton Hill. They would be the two Niagara stories, I think, that would be top of mind. Open letter, as some of you are already aware, we have had a team member at the Speedway receive a positive test for COVID. We have since been in contact with the Public Health Department of the Center for Infectious Disease. They have instructed us to advise anyone that has come into close contact with the team member on July 12th, 13th, or 14th to isolate for 2 weeks from the point of close contact and to be tested for COVID-19. You can find the rest of that announcement on the...
And Lee, one of the important points here is right at the bottom. You probably can't see it on your screen.
Yeah.
Out of abundance of caution, we have decided to delay the opening of the Speedway.
All right. And this was posted...
This is on Niagara 411. Oh, gosh.
Okay.
And let me just see the date of this. I think it was just 4 days ago.
Just recently. So it probably still has...
Thursday, Friday.
Has not opened yet. Well, that's a good thing. Now...
Lee, we should thank Gale's Gas Bars for sponsoring the program, let everybody know about the rewards program.
Yeah, we've been talking about so many things that I usually do this quite often, have not done it often enough. Gale's Gas Bars Limited are our partners here on the program, and to sponsor it with us, we really appreciate it. Another great Niagara company, all about Niagara and for Niagara, and that's why it fits with us so well. Their rewards program is, I have little bugs flying around here, it is really, really very cool. They have added some new things to it. I was looking at it online again and watching the announcements this week, and all the time they're adding new benefits to being a rewards member at Gales, and you can find out all about it and take your time and read in detail and join in at gales.ca. It couldn't be any more simple than that. Also great supporters of many, many charities around the Niagara region, and we are going to be focusing on some of those in the coming weeks as well, just to let everybody know that the partnership goes a little bit deeper than just a sponsorship. We're going to try to promote each other as promoters and supporters of the Niagara region. So again, tip of the proverbial hat to Jessica Friesen and her great team at Gales Gas Bars, and you're going to hear more about them and what they're supporting along with us in the weeks to come. This was also the inaugural program for the live stream happening in tandem with WeeStream Niagara on Niagara 411. You may have seen Nick put together watch parties, and of course, thank you to him for posting previous shows, etc. But as of now, as of this program, episode 7 of the 411, we are live streaming in both locations, on Niagara 411 as well as WeeStream Niagara. If you have the Zoom app on your phone, it's an easy number also. You can put it in your log of favorites and just power dial it whenever you feel the need, 905-411-0411. Okay? And also, I want to do our weekly tribute to WeeStream Niagara, Kevin, Jack, and Brandon Schramm's company. And Kevin is the technological person behind all of the stuff that you see here every week, as well as our executive producer. And he and I work, although socially distanced, fairly closely on putting this thing together, and it's a pleasure to do that. Kevin and I kind of sort of almost worked together for a few minutes in an earlier life, and it's good to get reacquainted with him, and it's a blast. So,
and Lee,
thank you
know
for
what?
that too.
Want to highlight something that I was doing on the weekend. We had a garage sale. We talked last week on the program about protocols, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, while in stage 2, and it was pretty limited. But once we got into stage 3, okay, now outdoor gatherings are 100 people. We made sure to spread out all of the items on our front lawn. We've got a rather large front lawn, maybe half a soccer field. And here we go. I'll share with you some of the cuteness here, Lee, if I can. There you go. There's my son and daughter at the foot of it all.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about this. I'm not so sure about whether child labor laws, Kevin, would approve of putting your children to work in the hot sun just because you want to make a couple of bucks at a yard sale. I don't know, but you know, I'll withhold judgment.
I didn't think the picture showed the chain under the desk. I don't think you could see it, Lee. So there's my beautiful daughter, Ayla.
Hi, Ayla.
And she was selling her drawings for 10 cents a piece. And thank you to everybody that stopped by. And, of course, the people were a lot more generous than just the 10 cents. So thank you very much for that. And she would whip you up something on the spot.
Uh-huh.
And then my son, Alex, next door. The previous day, this was the Sunday garage sale. We did it for 2 days. The Saturday sale, we had lemonade.
And your son is bilingual, I see.
Yeah, they both are.
That's awesome.
They parle en français. They go to a call at SMB, St. Margaret Bourgeois.
Ah.
Right at the base of Clifton Hill there. So thanks so much to
great.
Madame Renee and Madame Danielle for toughing through a difficult year as we transitioned online. And
I'll say.
Oh, God bless them. They did just a fantastic job. But thank you to everybody that stopped by the garage sale this weekend. It was a lot of fun. Got rid of a lot of stuff. And if you drive by my house, we're right next to the gas station with the yummy samosas.
Yeah, up on
right on St. Paul
on
and
St. Paul
7th.
West. Yeah.
You'll see a lot of the leftover items on our front lawn. They're free to a good home. So your home, you know what? I'm not even judging your home, even if your home's not that good. You can still take them.
Any home.
Yeah.
Just get it off the road.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Lee.
Okay, no problem at all. One of the stories that was a bit of a shocker surrounded the murder of a lady in Niagara-on-the-Lake. We know her as Zenaida. I say gentleman, I guess that's kind of a misnomer. The man who hit her with his car as she was walking, it was concession 7 and line 6.
I think so, yeah.
Was the nearest intersection. to where she was hit while walking on the side of the road. Hit and run, but they did find the man. They did try him, and the shocker, when I say shocker, there's Zenaida. The jail time for the man was 2 years. Is that adequate? I am no judge or jury, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not fully versed in the criminal code, all of its charges and all of its penalties. So nothing I say really holds any credible value on that score. It just seems that the two things don't seem to match. Just as a total layman sitting in front of a camera, 2 years for taking someone's life and hitting them with a car, and then taking off and not staying behind to help, or it compounds the effort. But that is, you can be your own judge and jury on this one. But I did want to acknowledge the fact that the sentence did come down this past week. 34-year-old Zenaida hit and run victim in Niagara-on-the-Lake at night, and the perpetrator sentenced to 2 years.
Mother of two.
Mother of two that are back in Mexico, right?
Yeah, mother of two. Now, they have to go the rest of their lives without their mom, who was killed. And again, when I saw the sentence, it said 2 years. I thought for sure, well, he must have stayed at the scene. This is just a horrible accident.
Yeah.
He stayed at the scene and did exactly what he could, and that's not the story at all. Fled the scene.
Yeah.
That apparently, according to court documents and testimony, at a high rate of speed. Just awful. Now, meanwhile, you talk about fleeing a scene. There are people that the boaters' etiquette, Lee.
Oh, yeah. This was a good story, but it had an angle that might fall into the fact of people not maybe understanding. So we had a letter, a thank you letter, posted on Niagara 411 that was thanking the people in the boat you see in the distance for helping a father and his son that were in a small sailboat. That's the bow of which you can see just in the bottom of the picture there, the blow up part of the picture. Thanking them profusely for coming to their aid when they became what you might call becalmed, in the words of sailors. The wind changed, it died down and it changed. It was making it very difficult for them to get back to shore. And these good Samaritans came along and towed them in to Port Welland. So, and yes, it's a wonderful thing for people to do, and they seemed quite surprised that this would happen, that people would go out of their way to do this. Well, the main message here is all boaters do this. It's almost actually it's not an unwritten rule. As a matter of fact, I remember when I took if I remember rightly, when I took my test to get my boating license, which I did a few years ago, so it's a little bit fuzzy. I believe that boaters are actually legally, as part of having a license and being allowed to operate a watercraft, have to go to other boaters that are in distress. You can look it up, and I'll do that too later. I won't bother doing it right now. But I was going to say that it was an unwritten rule amongst boaters, that all boaters came to the aid of others that were in distress. But actually, I think it is a written rule. I actually believe it is. If you're a boater and knows that, you can, call in, have a chat and let us know.
Yeah,
but
I've been boating my whole life. Yeah. And boaters know that you tow home because at some point you're going to be on the other end of that rope.
Yep. So you will need somebody sometime.
Yep.
And
I've towed and been towed on a couple of occasions.
Yeah.
And it's just what you do. And yeah, your day gets delayed by an hour or two, but it's what you do.
Yeah. And so again, I'm glad that the sailboaters were returned safely to shore, and also glad that the people in the other boat followed the boaters' code, if you will, of helping others.
And Lee, just to summarize here, the guy's name was Jim, and of course, wouldn't take any credit, wouldn't stick around, wouldn't take any gas money, nothing like that. Just happy to help out, and obviously didn't even get the guy's last name or contact info or anything like that.
So it's a nice story. So once again, we thank you for joining us today and your comments. I'd like to thank Gail for her participation calling in on the show. We'd love you to do the same if you ever have anything that you can contribute to what we are chatting about here on the 411. Gary Wilkins, our gorge and whirlpool area expert, thanks for coming in and giving us some insight into what life in the gorge is like for somebody that's there a lot. Please, everybody, stay safe. Kevin, Jack, as always, a pleasure, and WeeStream. Gale's Gas Bars Limited, once again, thanks for sponsoring the program and showing some faith in the 411. And to the owners, operators, Dave Mukparian of Fiddler's Poorhouse, we appreciate you letting us use your premises to do this little shindig every Monday. I'm Lee Sterry. Have yourselves a fabulous week. I guess we'll see you in August. Cheers.